want to welcome you to the meeting of the Board of Regional Commissioners on December 12th, 2012, 12/12/12. I guess it happens only once in one's lifetime, so, but we're all here together. So please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And join us in remembering all those who serve our country both here and abroad, and especially for those who have given their lives for us. Thank you. Okay, we'll begin with public comment. Is anybody here into public comment? Jerry?
I'm Jerry Rutherford from the League of Women Voters, and we wish to bring you the following issues. First, we were really appalled to learn that the ordinance passed by the Assembly recently to require the appointment of a county finance director in addition to the administrator was rejected by the commissioners without public discussion and was not even noted as an agenda item on the November 4th meeting. Further, the letter of rejection was signed by commissioners after the adjournment of the meeting and included signatures of a commissioner not present at the meeting. We asked that the procedures be developed and made public immediately to assure full compliance with the open meeting law. The League of Women Voters believes that real transparency in the conduct of public business is essential to our democracy and ensuring public understanding and trust of elected officials. Secondly, there is continuing concern about the practice of not listing items presented for the commissioner's signatures. We understand the reason for not including the many routine administrative requests for individual payment of expenses, vacation days. But there are occasionally items of interest regarding official county business which are included, and we ask that such a listing be available along with the agenda at each meeting. In the past I've seen such, but it doesn't seem to be routine. Thirdly, the need for an improved pathway for communication between the Board of Commissioners and the Assembly of Delegates is apparent. The division of responsibilities is rather sharp, yet it requires that both bodies actively work for exchange of information on an ongoing basis. With regard to the Commissioner's role, we have observed frequent statements that offer a kind of partnership with the Assembly on some issues, but we have not been aware of actual steps taken to offer such a platform. We suggest that representatives of the Assembly be invited specifically to discuss with the commissioners or a designated representative the ways in which communication can be improved. This issue also brings to the fore what we and others have considered the limitations of our current county structure. While we have focused on the current problems that need swift attention, we want to assure you of the respect for the conscientious and hard work of both the Board of Commissioners and the members of the Delegate Assembly. We thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Jerry, and thank you to the members of the League. We really appreciate your comments and also your attendance at our meetings. Truly. Is there any other public comment? Sean? Yep, Sean O'Brien from the Regional Emergency Management Planning Group, and Mark Foley, Deputy Chief of the State. Welcome.
How are you?
Good, good.
We just, we were asked to come in today and give you a quick briefing as to our deployment recently in New York. We do have a PowerPoint that we'll show you at a later date.
Oh, at a later date, okay.
But what we'll do is just give you a quick update as to what had happened. Primarily, as you know, we have a Barnstable County Incident Management Team. It's made up of volunteers and folks that serve in police, fire departments, DPWs, health departments across Barnstable County. Recently, as a part of the response to the city of New York from Hurricane Sandy, or as they call it, Superstorm Sandy, we were deployed for 13 days down in the city of New York to assist with some of the response. And so we went down there representing Barnstable County. We sent a small team, a short team, so to speak, of 9 representatives, and we worked with 6 representatives from a Western Massachusetts team. And I'll hand it over to Mark to kind of go over some of the specifics because Mark was our incident commander as a part of that deployment. We had 9 individuals from across Barnstable County, and I'll let you know who they are in a little bit. But I figured Mark can give you a little bit of the details from the deployment itself.
Sure. Yeah, as Sean said, we were requested. And just to give you a little bit of background, obviously, you know, the IMT, the Incident Management Team, is part of a subgroup of the REPC, so regional entity. What happens is when a state has a need for resources, especially in the emergency management field, they'll put an EMAC request, which is Emergency Management and Assistance Compact, request out to the entire country. And the request that went out for a Type 3 incident management team to go down, and initially was to go down and help at the Emergency Operations Center in New York City. We responded to the request and were approved to go through the state of Massachusetts, agreeing with the state of New York to send us. So it's a kind of a complicated political process, but obviously at the local level, our employers need to agree to let us go. We have a relationship with the county agrees to assist us with this. Then we have the agreement between the state of Massachusetts and the state of New York. And then the state of New York lent the asset to the city of New York City. So that's kind of the political route that we got there. When we did get deployed, as I said, we were supposed to go to an EOC and help them out in that arena, but as things turned out, we changed plans. In the initial deployment, we were setting up a couple of fueling stations for the first couple of days. We were there about a week after the storm started, about on the 8th or so, a little more than a week after the storm, so things had settled down a little bit, but it's still pretty chaotic. There were no places to stay or anything like that, so we had to make those kinds of arrangements. And luckily enough, the training ship Kennedy had been deployed down to Staten Island to house federal employees and federal assistants. So we were fortunate enough to make contact with the academy and with the ship, and they allowed us space on the ship, which was great. Otherwise, we would have been sleeping on a concrete floor in a garage somewhere. So that was great for the first couple of days. Then we got reassigned to a logistics staging area at City Field, which is where the Mets play, in the northern end of Queens. And that staging area was set up to supply pumps, generators, and light towers to the city of New York. So basically we were managing assets, probably $50–60 million worth of assets that were brought in to the city field from all around the country and then deployed into the city by request of the city. So as you can imagine, managing those types of assets in those types of conditions is a challenging task at best. There was an Ohio Type 3 team in before we were there. They set up the staging area. They basically laid out the blueprints about how it would operate and the basic structure. We came in to assist them because they were short-staffed. That's why the reassignment of the mission. While we were there, they had to transition out because they had fulfilled their 2-week deployment. And a team from Phoenix came in to supplement us and then to take over the mission. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We were there for the 2 weeks, a 24/7 operation with the 9 members of our team and the 6 members of the Northwest team from Massachusetts. Worked very well. I can't say enough about the people who went down there and worked under 14, 15, 16-hour days straight through. out in the weather and out in the parking lot at City Field, and did a great job. So those folks, outstanding work. And the city certainly appreciate, our assistance in the state as well. To the point that I actually got a phone call the day before yesterday if we were willing to come back for another deployment for a different mission. But we probably didn't have the resources to do that at this time, and a team from Texas accepted the mission as it was anyway. But that mission they're actually going door to door, doing welfare checks still to this day. People have no idea how much devastation is still in place down there. There's still thousands of people without power. There's still thousands of homes and tenements that are non-inhabitable. People are staying in them without power, heat, and electricity. Still, there's nowhere to go. The sheltering operation is not. No one wants to stay in a shelter if they don't have to, and they don't have an alternative at this point. So one of the missions they're fulfilling at the moment is a door-to-door check, virtually going out door-to-door, knocking on the door, making sure the folks are at least safe and in some kind of stability. They have about 500 National Guard troops that are going out every morning with a task force to do this mission. So they're up around 70,000 homes or residents that have been knocked on, the doors have been knocked on, but still there's lots and lots of recovery to happen there. So there's a possibility we will get requested again before this is over, so we'll see what happens. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. We did have a little slideshow. Pictures tell 1,000 words of some of the destruction and the logistical staging area that we were at. But happy to answer any questions, or if Sean has anything to add.
Well, I think what was really important too was it was a team from the entire Cape. Heading down, we have of course Deputy Foley from Eastham. We had the fire chief from Wellfleet with us, Dan Silverman. We also had Deputy Chief out of Dennis, Bob Brown. Mashpee Fire was there, etc. We had a large number of folks. So and just to give them the kudos, they were great ambassadors for Barnstable County. And so I think this was really the first deployment we've had out of state with most members on this team, and it was very, very impressive. They did a fantastic job, and it was very good. Towards the end of the deployment, we had the opportunity to go into some of these areas, and driving back, the only thing I could think of was 150 miles north. That's all this storm needed to move, was 150 miles north. And we could have potentially seen even 100 miles north and seen some of the damage that we saw. We went through Breezy Point, and what was amazing was if somebody had a poured foundation, the house was damaged, but was probably still on the foundation. If it was on a block or a raised foundation of some sort, it was usually gone, or damaged or moved. We saw houses in the middle of streets that had been moved off of their foundation. People lost everything. And I think coming back here after seeing what we saw really made me, and I think made all of us think that there's additional work we're gonna need to do with our emergency planning. And we're gonna, and looking at, we have a very good, robust shelter program. And are we prepared? Sure, we're prepared. But there are still always things that can be done. And so looking at these low-lying areas that we have across the Cape, and looking and using the slosh maps, the flood maps, the tools that we have, and moving forward with just maybe trying to work with local emergency management efforts and just re-look at some of these areas, and even looking at evacuation routes to the shelter. And taking it to that next step. I think for a lot of us it was a big learning opportunity. I mean, we've all seen damage during the storms. The devastation that we saw there was something we have not seen here in a long time. I would say since '38.
Well, and nor have they seen that type of damage, and they didn't expect it, but it happens, and it doesn't happen that frequently, thank God. But certainly, as Sean said, but for a few miles, we would have been in the same predicament. Our topography and geography and density is similar to where they really had the devastation on the Rockaways, Breezy Point, Staten Island, those places. Even Lower Manhattan is still without service right now.
Right.
You don't see it, you don't hear about it too much, but they're gonna be in recovery for a very, very long time. The numbers are, $67 billion in New Jersey, $63 billion in New York. That's just the damage. And the recovery time is gonna be years and years and years. As we were leaving, one of the mission assignments that they put out was to establish a base camp for 50,000 displaced residents. But a base camp is basically tents. Obviously that's not gonna work well in New York City in January, so as I said before, I don't know what their solution is gonna be to this 50 or 60,000 people still, displaced.
Jesus, all I could think of is I used to spend a lot of time going to Queens to the Power Authority, and it's a very densely populated area. It's like, one huge Dorchester, lots of people live in a small space. I used to go to Staten Island, over to Arthur Kill,
Sure.
and it's like, these are where the real people live.
Sure.
Yeah.
God, those poor people.
And some of it's like Breezy Point is basically a co-op, it's federal land, and
Yeah.
those folks that lost their homes down there, those homes sit on federal land, so it's not like you go back and even if you had insurance to cover you, can't replace and rebuild in the same spot.
Yeah,
So,
and if I could just, I've been listening a lot about this, and there was a replay of a documentary on the 38th storm. I'm not sure if it was right before the storm or right after, but it was right around
Good
it.
timing, yeah.
Yeah, and you forget that Providence, Rhode Island, was totally flooded. I don't even have a memory of it, but it was really an amazing thing. And now we're trying to rebuild. And it's, as I say, there's always, you can always look at coastal houses, so 5,000 houses are lost. Oh, that's really terrible, and then it looks like a beach until people rebuild. But when you're in a inner city, the largest city in the world, where it's very dense, and we have this old infrastructure, and now we're trying to rebuild that same infrastructure, we've got to get our political dialogue away from parties and all these stupid things that we get involved with, and say, we as a people have got to survive, and we have things that we have, big things to think about on how we're going to go into the future. Because if we repair this the way it's been repaired, it's just money down the drain,
It'll
really.
repeat again.
Yeah, it will
Exactly.
repeat again.
And I'm thinking, based on the experience you had and what we already know, is there a way to develop some sort of a report, if you would, on implications for Cape Cod? What would happen? What would we have to do here? First of all, to prevent something like that, and then secondly, if it happened, how would we address it? Well, I know your group has a plan to address it, but I guess my concern would be, what are the implications for us now to take a look at our infrastructure and look at what we have here, and what could we do now that would help
Absolutely.
in preventing some of that devastation. I have a nephew who used to live in Long Branch. He's still there, but he doesn't have a house anymore. And by the time he was able to call me, of course, the first thing he needed was money, because you couldn't get money, food, and clothes. I mean, that was really the first thing. And the day the A&P opened, which was the Saturday after the storm, they had to let people in one by one. I mean, they had only so many could go in at a time, because they didn't have the resources to take care of that. So you had to sign up on the list and stay in the parking lot until your name was called and you could go in and shop. I mean, it was just amazing. And going to a church that had clothing, because people were wearing the same things day after day. And
Well,
they
this is
didn't
still
get a
going
change
on.
of clothing for at least 6 days, and the churches were able to provide that.
People lost everything.
Yes, everything. Yes.
We saw a
You
house.
can't imagine. Just imagine what it would be like to just all of a sudden find out you have nothing except what's on your back.
It hit me when I saw a house being torn down, and there were still clothes in the drawers of a dresser that was being torn apart. And it basically is. They left with whatever was on their backs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was quite an experience, and
Yeah.
very good that
Well, we're
you
glad
guys
to do
were
it.
able
Yes,
to do
and-
that
and
and
it's
respond.
Great that
and,
you could help.
We had a couple of our AmeriCorps volunteers were down in Staten Island, And they gave us a report on their experience on Staten Island.
Yeah, we heard stories of them over on.
Oh, you did? Oh, about that?
We knew there were other folks from the Cape out
Right.
there, and
And that's really the point
So-
to take home too. You're talking about New York City. Pre 9/11, New York City, it was all the impression they could take care of themselves. Didn't matter what happened, fire, flood, famine, doesn't matter. Take care of themselves. Obviously, it's not the case.
Right.
Even in this condition, you know, with teams from all over the country in there. There's federal workers from all over the country. They still, even with all their infrastructure and support, they cannot handle this type of disaster on their own. And the lingering mitigation and lingering recovery is the part that we need to think about, because that's where they will drop the ball, and that's where they will
Right.
lose folks and money, and that's
Didn't
where.
we learn anything from Katrina?
I'm sorry?
Didn't we learn anything from Katrina?
Well, you would think so. I mean,
Yeah.
the good part of that is some of the response was certainly better, and the response that's happening is better.
Right.
Compared to
FEMA, yeah.
then. The problem
Yeah.
is, even though it was a huge storm in Katrina, the density wasn't as dense. And plus, it's Louisiana and Mississippi and Texas. It doesn't get to 20 degrees and 8 feet of snow, which is going to happen shortly
Right.
in New York City, and that's going to be a completely different problem. Then they're going to be dealing with casualties
Exactly.
that are late casualties.
The first thing that I think of is that they have these portable heaters that, that are death traps that they put, they basically, if you're gonna be in a house without any power, you put one of these portable heaters,
Sure.
one of these coal heaters,
Yep.
in order to stay warm, and you get all carbon, the carbon monoxide
Sure.
that gets generated by it, just.
How many do you think were on the Kennedy, the ship, volunteers like yourselves?
There were, the ship will berth 700 folks. There were 400 to 500 FEMA workers while we were there on the ship. The interesting part about that, again, is just 400 to 500 FEMA workers. Where did they get 400 or 500 FEMA workers? They took TSA agents and reassigned
and
them
reassign
to
them.
FEMA duty.
Oh, I see.
So they had basically about 300 TSA agents who had been reassigned into this community affairs assignment. Basically, they're going out into the field and taking information from folks for FEMA relief. And that's what they were doing. They're still doing it till today. I mean, the Kennedy's coming home on Saturday, supposedly. We'll see if it does or not. But 400 or 500 people.
So how would you gauge the response based on your own knowledge and experience over the years in terms of readiness? Do you think that people like you or the city or the state of New Jersey were really able to do better in terms of that they were more experienced in terms of readiness, or is there still a lot to do?
There's still a lot to do. I think we're pretty good at our response. But I also add the caveat that sometimes impossibilities happen in that 100-year storm, and that's what they were faced with. I think, as we work, we're very good at knowing that we're an isolated area. We've taken a lot of steps to address things, regional shelters. We have treat things regionally in general. We've got strong regional mutual aid plans and things of that sort. And we're under the understanding that we're on our own for 48 to 72 hours, and that's how we take care of ourselves. I don't know if that's necessarily, because we're a little unique. And so we take things to the extreme here. We're not the largest population in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Yeah, that's it. We have 2 bridges and a tunnel, that we can't find. So,
To Sheila's point about it's the political interference
It
again.
is.
Just as a poignant point, on the federal assistance is 100% for the first 14 days. Once that 14th day hit, resources disappeared like
Right.
crazy, because the city is not going to front a 75-25 split on those resources, including resources like us. Once the Phoenix team left, they basically said, we can't afford to manage this with a professional team anymore. We're gonna hand it over to the National Guard, and so we can't afford the costs.
Right.
And that's a huge problem, and they're still arguing and wrangling over federal monies versus state monies versus city monies, and they're gonna be doing that for a long time. Even in the LSA that we're working at, we had city resources, state resources, And then the governor even had his own resources in the yard. And the political maneuvering and play that you see firsthand is any reasonable person would say that's not correct in this time of devastation.
And that's all to appease all certain interest groups,
Right.
and we've
It's
got
not about-
to cut that
It's
out.
not about giving some elderly woman on the 10th floor of a project,
What she needs.
some heat
yeah.
and some hot water.
Right.
A lot more than
It gets lost.
Well, we want you to come back and do the PowerPoint, and then maybe
Sure.
we can
Yeah, that would be
continue
great.
this discussion,
Sure.
because I
That'd be
think it has.
Pictures are better than listening to us.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, I
Thank you for telling us.
think it
It's
will be-
fascinating.
No, but it's
Well,
good
it
for
will
people
help
to,
us.
to
Thank you so
actually
much for
be able
doing
to
it.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Well,
thank everybody in the
And
team.
again, we appreciate the support from not only the county, but back to our own local.
Right.
Mhm,
Exactly.
Absolutely, no,
And our
everybody
families
pitched in.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And that's very true, that the towns really supported
Yes.
the effort as well.
That was a regional effort. It just
Yeah.
went further
That's
out than what
great.
we're used to, so.
And it's a good team. We
Yeah.
had 9 folks that really, they did a good job. They did a great job.
Right. Oh, I had no
Yeah.
doubt
Yeah.
when I heard they were all going down, so.
All right, well, let us
Great.
know when you're
Yeah.
coming
Thank you.
back.
Thank you
very
for
much.
sharing that.
Great.
All right,
Thank
good.
you.
Is there any other public comment? Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Richard Watts.
Yes?
Approximately 2 months ago, the commissioners had scheduled an executive session on the park purchase, and I haven't seen anything come up on that in a while, and just wondered if
No,
there's
it's-
anything in the near future.
No, nothing has come up. Behind, there's been some information gathering, but there will be something coming up fairly soon, maybe as early as next week. We need to have a meeting and with the attorney, with the county administrator, with some members of the Assembly of Delegates, with a commissioner, and it will begin to move forward. We just haven't been able to bring the right resources together until now. So nothing else has happened yet, but you'll know. You'll know when it happens.
Okay.
Okay? Anybody else? Okay, then let's turn back to our agenda items. We have 2 items on the agenda today, and they're sort of related in a way. One is a discussion of our strategic plan. It's important to begin to set the dates for that, and that should be very soon, because we're going, probably this is all going to, the strategic plan and our budget review is probably going to go concurrently, unless we, I think it's going to be back on the agenda. Next week is, today's the 12th, so next week is the 19th. And that's, we have a luncheon, I think, or the Christmas
Right.
party.
We're still
at
meeting
noon.
for 30 minutes prior.
We have 30 minutes prior to
Beth
that.
Albert is coming in.
Okay,
So
well-
you're starting your meeting at 11:30, Beth Albert's coming in with an update.
Well, we may want to start at 11,
Okay.
possibly, because we need to finish up the planning for the strategic plan, and we need to vote on the budget policy. Today, we're only just going to talk about the budget policy and some of the items that need to be included in budget policy. We've not had one before. And I think we need to vote those next week, so we can get them started.
Do you wanna-
So include the strategic plan again and the budget policy, if you would, on next week's meeting. So we'll start at 11
Okay.
instead of 12, instead of 11:30.
Okay,
Is that all right with you?
I'm sure I'll be able to make it. I have a meeting at 9 at the RTA, but those have been going fairly quickly, so
Okay.
if I'm a few minutes late, you'll understand, but I'll make every
Okay.
effort to get here by 11. You said 11?
By 11.
Okay.
So, I have to get the calendar out. So in terms of the strategic plan, the League of Women Voters comments were very timely today, because the topics that we are taking up first in the strategic plan is the organization, the internal organization of the county, which deals with the county administrator's position and the finance director position. We have to provide funding for the finance director's position, which is one of the reasons why we did not accept the ordinance, is because there was no funding that was associated with it. Also, we have somebody in the position. The county administrator is the county administrator and the finance director. So those are human resources issues, those are contractual issues, and you can't really bring somebody new in when you already have somebody in the position. So we have to resolve that before the beginning of our strategic plan. And that's the only reason that we rejected the ordinance from the from the assembly to hire a finance director because we already have one. So he has a dual title. Is finance director. He's actually three things. He's the finance director, the treasurer, and the county administrator. And you do have to consider, as I mentioned, the contractual issues. He has a contract that stipulates that those are the positions he has and those are the responsibility he has. And so we are going to move on with the recommendations of the special commission with regard to that, the organization of creating a county executive and separating the finance director from that position. So we will deal with that. That will be our first priority under the strategic plan. And what I was going to say is that our strategic plan is really based on the goals of the county and what we want to accomplish. And they not only they include broad policy goals from the commission, and then the departments in the county government will be for the most part the ones who are going to have to carry out these goals. In other words, their goals and objectives have to be part of and relevant to the overarching goals that the county commissioners want to see for the county moving forward. And it'll be a 5-year strategic plan over the next 5 years to be reviewed every year at the same time, but preferably prior to the budget, so that we know that if there are budget implications for the strategic plan, that as we prepare the budget, they will be included in the plan. So, like I say, we're a little bit late to the game here, but not that late that we can't make it happen. So, I was looking for the calendar so we could begin to set the dates to begin the strategic plan, which I have a phone that uses up the batteries more than you can imagine.
I have a paper calendar.
Well, that would be very helpful. Let's use your paper calendar.
Okay.
So the first meeting in January would be what, January 3rd?
It would be January 9th.
No.
The first meeting would be January 2nd.
Oh,
Our first meeting would be January 2nd.
That's a
Do we have
Wednesday?
to meet on January 2nd? I'm not gonna be here.
That's
Well,
a
we might
reorganization.
make-
We have to reorganize by statute on the
Yeah, we
first
have to
meeting.
reorganize by statute and be sworn in. If you're
You
not
can
gonna
be you can be sworn in anytime
I can be
after
Yeah.
that.
Afterwards,
Yeah,
yeah.
we could have the meeting, and, I mean, we could make it a little different.
Do you
Just
have to do the reorganization? I mean, you have to do that reorganization that day?
Yeah, historically, we've always done it that day.
But do we have to do it that day?
We can, I think, well,
Part of it
I
has to
don't
do with
know.
when we appointed ourselves, we appointed to a date certain, which was the 2nd.
Right.
So we have to think about that.
I think we can work it out. I've seen that happen before, where after an election, or after the expiration of a term of office and an election, and you have new candidates, in this case we don't, but our appointments don't continue. So your appointment won't continue again until you have to be sworn in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes you can put reorganization off a week. Are you back the next week?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well then we'll have to reorganize on the 9th instead of the 10th.
Okay.
And then we'll just have to, because every member should be present for reorganization.
Because that's
I
when-
don't think it's appropriate that we reorganize without a full membership.
But part of the reorganization, of course, is the setting of our offices as well.
Yeah,
Right.
I understand that, but we'll have to delay it a week.
But I guess you do have to meet just to be sworn in,
We-
and there's somebody still. in
Oh,
charge
yeah,
of
we
the
have to
county.
meet, there
Yeah,
has to be
you have
at
to have
least two
somebody,
people, yeah. So
running
we
the
will
county,
meet
so-
and be sworn in, and you'll have to be sworn in when you
When I come
return.
back, and then we can,
Well, I don't have to be sworn in because my term
No,
continues.
that's right, you don't, but I
oh,
do.
yeah,
That's right.
okay.
Okay. All right, so then we'll have a different type of agenda than on Monday, but on January 9th, we need to
you
begin
for accommodating
the meetings for the strategic plan.
Mhm.
Now,
That region-
are there any specific topics that either of you would like to have included as goals? We should really have no more than 5 overarching goals.
Mhm.
And I think anything that you can do, that you can forward to me so that we can work on this is is developing, just putting a draft on paper. Something, you know, the goals are related to financial stability, I mean, that could be a goal. Another one could be preserving coastal resources, I'm just throwing out ideas. Preserving coastal resources, it could be, obviously, a goal is to continue to implement the recommendations of the special commission. That is clearly a goal. And that can be just an overarching goal, and then we can fill in the details as to how it's all going to take place. I think that's clearly a goal. I mean, I think those are three things that we, I mean, as I said, I'm top. So come up with broad, general statements that you think we should consider as goals that we need to focus on for this coming year.
I think I had,
Whether it's transportation, whether it's technology, because of the Cape Cod, you know, Commission, the Open Cape Project, the Strategic Information Office, the RUS, that has to be a goal.
Yeah.
Having that completed.
okay, I had given this some thought, and I'll just resend it to you.
Okay.
I think the economic development has to be a piece of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, that finance is to what our role is in finding, applying, you know, funding. I think we've never really been, we need to be more clear as to what, you know, what our income sources are, what kind, and how much dependability. I think that's an important piece of a
Well, that's our budget policy. That's going to come out in the budget policy.
Okay, then,
Yeah.
and on IT and communications, I think we need to look at our internal equipment. I think we need to look at the website. I think we're addressing that on the agenda today. But what I'm
We
not
are.
clear as to what kind of expectations would we have for both its design and its you know, and its sustainability.
Well,
And then there's the external, you know, the external part of you know, what are we doing with the 9/11 process.
911 dispatch,
And the,
that's
yeah,
definitely.
and then the Open Cape General Application, which you already mentioned. The other piece is that how can we use Open Cape, we talked about that, to connect citizens to the county and the towns.
Well, no, that's very specific, that's something, a task.
Yeah.
We have to look at the big general categories, not the details,
Okay.
because we're gonna send this strategic plan to the department heads, and we're gonna say to them, you need to develop your goals based on this strategic plan. Like, for instance, Sean, today, if 911 dispatch is our overarching goal, and this is what we want to accomplish this year, we send it to him and say, you are going to be the one, the task. Each goal will have a responsible person. Somebody is going to be responsible for that goal. But we'll go through that when we meet. I just want your ideas on
Okay,
strategic
I'll
goals.
just send it
There's
back.
one other too. I have spoken with Paul Niswicki about this. We need to have a communication plan for the county. And that includes the Cape Cod Commission, and we need to work together on this. It's not, I mean, it's a communication plan that applies to everyone, including the commission, including Children's Cove, including all of our agencies. And Paul and I have talked about this, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more, so that we can come back with a more of a plan to present. But our overarching goal is to have a communication plan for the county that better informs the people, you know, the people who live here, the residents, and brings the communication back to us.
I think that.
I think that is so critical.
I think that's very important. However, if we have this conversation, the people that should be in the room are the people within our whole organization to, let's say, to understand what we're all talking about.
When we get to that point, but not now. When we're doing the plan, we're just defining what that means. We're not doing the details. The details come later.
But when we do come to the communications piece,
Ex-
I hope all of the people that we're concerned about.
We will
in that-
task
in
people
that
to
mo-
do
In
that.
that, in that dialogue are all in the same room.
We will task them to do that, and they will come back to us with
Okay.
the plan.
Yeah, I mean, what I would like
Yeah.
to see is maybe that we sit down what we think are doable goals. This is where we wanna go. Then get our departments together and say, how are we gonna work on this together? And where are we going to exchange cooperation and collaboration? Where are the opportunities? Because I think through not only would communication enlighten the public, it will also
Internal.
enlighten the internal operations will become much more succinct
That's
and
Internal and external both.
working together, because does yes, there's communications that are sent around, this is what the Cape Cod Commission is sending out, and this is what the health department's sending out. And that's fine, that's like, every department looks at the other department's information, like, okay, that's what they're doing. But there has to be more than just seeing what they're doing. Where are our efforts similar on these,
Right.
on these
Yeah.
areas
it's-
and coordinate it?
It's not just information, it's communication.
Yeah, it's
and that
communication
applies
and
two-way
coordination to it.
communication.
So, there's a lot of things and everything that and I will write those down and I'll have those for next
Okay, and
week.
you can just email them to me,
Yeah,
and then we
Okay.
can put together the
I'll email them
agenda.
to both of you, I'll
Okay.
email them to both
I
of you.
think I've sent this to you before.
Yeah, I read yours,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And
and I,
you have
Yeah,
that.
I
and I
have
agree
them
with
too.
a lot of them, so I'll, whatever other thoughts I'll add on.
So that will be for the meeting on January 9th. And then,
Okay.
in January, the January 2nd meeting will be,
Yeah,
it
just you
won't
guys.
be the major things.
Um,
The other thing, Mark sent us,
I just looked all over
Did
the
you
place,
look
I
at
could
that?
not find it,
Really?
so I didn't see it.
no, this is something, this is a budget, this is an example of a budget policy. I was gonna give copies to Mark. This is a municipal budget policy.
Does anybody
And
else want a copy?
if anybody
look at
wants
it?
to look at it, that's the budget policy for the town of Falmouth, so I mean, that's, cause the only one I know. It's the closest one, the only one I participated
You know,
in.
when you could put
But
your
I
hands
think
on
the
it.
whole idea, if you just kind of scan through it, what it really relates to is what are the policies regarding revenue? And where our revenue is not as sustainable as the revenue the towns have, because they have a sustainable revenue because of the property tax. We don't have a sustainable revenue, so we have to really look at this and develop what our local, what our estimated revenues are going to be for a year. What are they going to be? And they mostly they come from various sources, so they have to be delineated as to whether they're from the real estate excise tax, or whether they're state funding in some cases. Not grant funding, but just state funding.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
Who put this together? Who
Well,
was
we-
responsible for creating, I mean, I know that you all probably voted on it and read it.
It's
and-
been in existence for several years.
Okay, do we have an operating budget policy?
No, that's why I
We
thought,
don't.
no. So, and we should be
I think it is time to
the
read.
executors of the budget policy.
Yeah,
And I think this is it's a little bit different from municipalities, so you can't really look at that because we don't
yeah, they're
have
more
local
specific, where we
receipts.
have to look, right.
So our revenue sources are fairly clear, we know what they are, they're not sustainable, and we have to look at that, and part of the policy should be a goal of how do we provide more sustainable revenues for county government? We have to find a way to do that. And that can be a goal in our budget policy. It may not say exactly how it's going to happen, but we have to start looking at creating sustainable revenues. Then on the expense side, then our strategic priorities, which we will delineate when we do the goals for our strategic plan. Those are our priorities. And then you go into the labor force. Is the labor force we need? Do we need other skills in our labor force? And what is the overhead on the labor force?
Actually, doesn't it drop out of the strategic plan process where we identify those things that we think are mission sensitive? That once in a strategic planning process,
What do we need to make it
the
happen?
responsibility for outcomes is a task that assigns to a strategic
right.
plan.
Exactly.
And part of that task would be how would you support that? What kind of resources would you find to do that? And then I think that that answers the question about the need. Now we have to identify whether or not there's a source.
Well, if you're looking at the labor force, what you really are saying is, from a budget policy perspective, is that you want to maintain the current the current appropriation for labor, not who the labor force is, but we want to maintain. Each year you look at your expense areas. Labor force is one. And so you want to look at what the cost of the labor force is. And then you determine on a regular basis if you want to continue to sustain that revenue source for the labor based on who they are and what functions they have and what their functions contribute to county government. In other words, if you had, let's say, we were looking at a major shortfall as we review our budget for the next year. Suppose we were looking at a major shortfall for some reason. Suppose we had another recession where things started to tank like they did back in '08. Then we would have to look at the labor force as an expense side and say, can we continue to afford the labor force at this level? Do we have to make changes? That's what I'm saying. It's something you look at.
There's a piece in that about mission. Okay, when we define ourselves with a strategic plan, you've identified what our mission responsibility is, and then that piece, rather than taking a look at the elements of a labor force, we have to take a look at the contribution of a labor force.
Right, I agree. You have to, what is our mission and what do we need to get there?
Right.
And some of our labor force may be obsolete or we don't have what we need in place. So if we have to add additional labor force or there's going to be added expense to that labor force, how are we going to manage that? So then we have to look at, is there anything there that's a waste on that labor force?
Yeah, and you're right, because it relates directly to the services that are performed in the county.
Right.
And are we going to continue to maintain the services we have?
Well,
Do we need
we're
additional
evolving,
services?
So we've got to go with our evolution here as far as meeting the new needs. I mean, this was an example of things that we have to be looking at in the future and being prepared for that, but also trying to guide it and direct it. And so, I mean, I think that there's elements, as we're looking at our own operation, we have to look at what do we need to get to where we want to go.
The other thing we have to look at is retirements and succession planning. I mean, that's not
Right.
our job
That's-
to do succession planning, but we need to
We
make
have to think
sure
about that it's
that
on.
as we have,
I disagree with that. I think
You do?
that it is, in this way, I think it's the responsibility of every member of our management team to have identified a normal route to succession.
Right.
And the closer that they get to their own change in plans for retirement, that they have some recommendations to make as to what would be needed for replacement. So that task, I think, is an ongoing one, and one that we have a responsibility for, let's say, for, if not enforcing, or insisting that, that there be some response to it.
that as part of the plan, that succession planning is carried out, because we have been, since I have been a commissioner, it has been told to me that there are people who are in very important positions, like department head positions, who may be leaving. And we are going to have to replace these people. So what is the succession plan to do that?
And attached to that as well is, if you look at the hierarchy of our management, okay, in the case of a disaster, do we have a hierarchy that says which, and we did it a couple of years ago, where Bill Clark was identified as being the most senior person. If Mark and Maggie were out of the building, someone had to be available to, let's say, in case of in case of an emergency, or in case of a need of what do we do next.
That's right.
So we need to have that brought down to yet another level, so that it is in place, because obviously what happened in New York is a warning that we have to be prepared to respond for our own internal organization in the case of, in order to respond, let's say, in a positive way, rather than saying, what do we do next?
Well, the other thing I wanted to point out, if you look at page 4 in this plan, it talks about, it has different categories, but we have to look at the reserve fund, and we have to have policies around the use of the reserve fund. We need to have policy, we need to create a capital stabilization fund, so that we know that we have money set aside for capital projects as they come up.
We have done some of that.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah, but it has to be part of
they
it.
don't exactly have the same terminology,
Right, but,
but we have those accounts,
Yeah, and
and
we
we
have to
should
have
look
it
at those.
expressed.
And we should have a policy around how much money we want to keep in those reserve funds, how much money we need to set aside for capital because we've not really developed a capital plan, and we should really start doing that, looking at a real capital plan. I don't mean just departments that come forward with their own capital plans, like George has, to
buy more
to
equipment.
do all the remodeling over there and buy equipment, but we should have, not necessarily always ours, but the the county administrator, the county executive, which we, you know, what, assume we will have in a reasonable period of time, would be doing that. We'd be looking at the capital needs of the county over a 5-year period, and we develop a 5-year capital plan in the same way we have a 5-year strategic plan.
The mistake that we made with the reserve funds was that when we had.
The money we gave it away.
Well, that's the point
That's
was.
true.
That's
Okay, well, there were
unfortunately
needs,
yesterday.
and
That's
we did
right.
respond to
Nothing we can
needs.
do.
That's-
However, what we should have done
Right.
is recognize the opportunity that gave to build up our reserves.
Right.
So that we would have,
That's right.
we would have those, you know, that money to, let's say, to get us through tougher times.
That's
You know, we
right.
didn't, we responded to what needs we heard in the community, and there was a lack of, until we changed, you know, several years ago, one of the things that I asked for and you got support on, was that we have a closer, say, a closer relationship between the money that we anticipated coming in and the budgets that we were proposing. Because before that, there was no close correlation, and as a result, we weren't following either the state or the federal guidelines. We were following having say a significant amount of money put aside in a feeding frenzy at the end of the year.
Right.
So that was,
Yeah.
that was a serious error. But we did adjust that, and it did mean that that at that time, instead of getting in more programs, what hindsight is 20/20, that what we should have done is made a contribution to our reserves at that time and put that as part of our policy,
Right, like our
that
bonding and-
whenever we were, let's say, putting a program together, that would be the time to add to the reserves. Now, that seems to be a good policy in business, because
Right.
you are unable to expand unless you have some type of a fund base in order, let's say, in order to establish an investment.
And there's another requirement that we have to think about, and that's the OPEB, which is other personnel employee benefits, and those are the ones that occur in retirement. When you have people who retire, there are benefits that they receive other than their retirement check that have to be set aside, because right now, it's a pay-as-you-go. There is not, and this is true in the entire state.
And just enter stage right.
Enter stage
We
right.
just started talking
We're
about
on the budget
retirement.
policy.
Oh, good.
We're just talking about OPEB.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, setting aside some funding for OPEB,
Yep. We have to set up a trust.
a trust. Yeah, or an account,
Irrevocable trust.
right, because once you put the money in it, you can't take it out.
Can't take it out, yeah.
So we're just going generally over some of the topics that we need to consider, what some of the elements of the budget policy ought to be, and how we can get that together so that we start operating from that.
Sure, yeah. Did you see the Nantucket one I sent you?
Yes, I thought that,
Libby
well,
had sent that around for the town managers.
Did you send that to us? I didn't see that. Did you send
Yesterday
that
I
to us?
sent it. I
It was
just got it
yesterday.
yesterday. So
Under your
maybe-
name, I couldn't find
Yeah.
it.
I did see it, but I didn't
Maybe it's,
open it.
maybe it's on.
But I'll send it again, and I'll make some copies for next time, so we can look at that too, so, okay. It was just at the collector
we-
treasurer's Christmas
County
party.
treasurer's.
We had some business to do, so I.
well, we decided that we're going to, we have yet not set the date for a strategic plan.
Yes, no.
So,
Elaine is working on
on the,
picking vendors. I put the one you use in Falmouth, I put that on our list.
okay,
The,
Jeff Nutty from
Did we
Franklin,
put a,
that
did we
one?
put a,
I didn't put that one, no, I put the CIT, the one you always
CIB.
talk about.
yeah, the one that we just had, that we were just with CIB?
No,
CBI.
not consensus building.
I
Yeah.
did put that one
Oh,
on,
you
yes,
did?
that's the one I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about, yes.
CBI.
Oh, I didn't know
apologize.
they did that,
I
but that's
couldn't-
okay.
CIB.
Yeah.
CIB.
I don't know if they do it or not, I just suggested that's one that you've mentioned time and time
Yeah.
again that Elaine will talk to.
Okay. So we thought for next week, what we would do is come back, we'd start at 11 instead of, they need this room though, but we can meet in the other room.
Yeah,
That
can
we
do
would
that.
come back with a draft of the budget policy
Okay,
and a draft of the at least 5 goals for the strategic plan.
Mhm.
They're gonna email. Put those on and we'd have a bit of a discussion. And then at least we'd have something to start with.
Yeah.
You don't have to fill in the details, just the overarching goals that we would want. Then we don't know yet what date we would be able to engage someone to work with us on this, do we?
No, maybe we should
we should
start
set a date.
thinking about our dates, and then we
Alright.
can, you know, see if they fit in with whoever we pick.
Now, should these be over and outside of the regular
Yes.
meeting? Yeah. so we
Because
should-
don't forget, January, your regular
We've got
meetings
the
are already
budget
budgeted,
meetings,
yeah,
right.
so they you sort of, if you wanna start in January, which I think you do.
Oh,
you
yeah,
sort
we
of
do.
have
We
to.
wanna start,
We could do it on a Friday or whatever you
Yeah,
wanna do, just
exactly.
let me know ahead of time and I can do it.
now, that's the other, okay. So,
The other thing we discussed, which you weren't here, is on the first meeting, which is January 2nd, I'm not here. So they're only gonna be sworn in, and we're gonna restructure on the 9th.
on the 9th, the
Okay.
reorganization on the 9th.
Okey-doke.
And I'll be the only one sworn in on the 2nd.
Yeah.
Is that Jen or is that Scott?
Actually, you don't, technically, you don't need to be sworn in.
I don't?
I don't think so.
She just
Maybe
got
you should.
re-elected.
Yeah, you
Because you're
do.
re-elected, your election was certified.
He doesn't have to be sworn in because
No,
he's-
he doesn't, I'm trying to remember,
You
but,
go
all
to the
right,
end of your
well, I'll
term,
have
then
to
you
set,
have to Because I had
Yeah,
to
we can
sign
have-
both
we can have the
last
ninth
time.
as the inaugural
day.
I can't
Yeah.
function
Like last
on the
time.
2nd unless I'm sworn in.
okay, well, that's,
Right.
I just have to, so you want Scott to do it, do you have somebody you
So
want?
we could have the county clerk do it,
The county clerk could.
County clerk could do it?
have Janice come over.
Oh, I
That'd
could have
be the
that, I
simplest
could do
thing.
that.
And then she can come over on the 9th. She can come in.
And then
Just
to
as
do,
one,
yeah,
right?
sure.
And then we can reorganize.
Or I'll go to her, whatever
No,
works.
that's fine, she's here, so that's
She's
fine.
only across the way.
Yeah.
All right.
So on the 9th, so on the 2nd, we want to just finalize.
The dates.
So we'll start, yeah, we have to start at 11 o'clock next week, if you wanna talk
Yeah,
about,
and we
spend some
wanna
time on that.
get
Beth
something
also
done.
wanted some time on your
Yeah, and we
agenda
need to have her here
for-
before the year's
I
out.
can't remember.
It'll be our
I think
last
she's
meeting.
coming on the,
Yeah, she's coming at
Thank you.
did you say
11:30.
Beth was coming?
Then
Oh, at
next week.
11:30, that's right,
Yes.
on the 2nd. And
Okay.
the other thing we talked about, Mark and I have talked about is, can't do it this year, obviously, but one of our goals, I think, in terms of the financial stability could be performance budgeting, that we want to work toward
Mhm.
having performance budgeting for the county, for the county departments. And we can begin that sometime this year.
And I
do
think you
some
also talked
training.
about a policy too.
Well, the budget policy, yes, but in terms of the goal under finances would be that next year, not this year, but next year, we do training on performance budgeting.
Yeah, you
So
know, we do
that-
performance budgeting now. They're
Mhm.
supposed to come up with goals and
Oh, they are,
objectives.
okay.
And I think they're very good at coming up with goals. They're pretty good at coming up with objectives. They're really not very good at all at coming up with measurements.
Measurements, right, and
Measurements,
that's,
trick.
yeah,
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 and
'cause
that's sort of the hardest
proving,
part.
that's the
Right.
proof of the
Bill
pudding,
Clark
so.
is pretty good at, maybe, I shouldn't say
Names.
surprisingly, but you know, how Bill sometimes is, but he's actually pretty good at coming up with measures. He usually has quantities you'll see in his budget when you look at, we're gonna do 33 of those and, you know, 200 of these, and-
There are a
but
couple,
others are less.
there are a couple of good people out there that are fairly local that can train on performance
Yeah,
budgeting.
exactly.
Because the other piece to that is to take a look at your staff and look at them in terms of what do they do and allocate that part of their salary that contributes to that particular performance. So then you know exactly what it costs to run your department and to accomplish the activities that are part of your department.
Yeah, I used to do that
Like
for the
firefighter,
utility.
it's easy, the fire department is one of the easiest ones. You know, you have EMTs or you have whatever, you have so many engines and this is what they do. And X amount of the budget is allocated to that,
Yeah.
and X amount is allocated to fire prevention, or X amount is allocated to whatever else fire
When I did the
departments do.
budgeting for, for Boston Edison in my department, that's what
Mhm.
we always looked at, is what the breakdown of contribution and labor for particular tasks were, and then then it helped us make a decision as to whether or not the allocation was appropriate based upon, based upon what the outcome was worth. So that made a lot of changes based upon the kind of work that was being done. So that's an old standard measure, especially in technical areas.
And it's at the ICMA, the International City Management Association, has put out a lot of publications, and they do a lot of webinar training on performance-based budgeting. And so I think it would be very helpful, particularly for us as a county, because we really want to see how we are allocating our resources to accomplish the goals that we need to accomplish based on moving the county
I wonder if NACO wouldn't have some information on that based upon what other counties have done with regard to, performance.
NACO, I'm sure, has that.
I'll look into that.
Look into that
And I'll
and
get back to you on when we meet about what types of performance measures and planning tools that, that they offer. Because I know that they've been a very good resource for many other things for us.
Because that way, when it comes to allocating your resources, you know what the program is. And if that's a program that we think is really important, then we want to make sure you fund it. And so you look to see not only just what the employee's cost is, but what the other costs that might be associated in terms of equipment or whatever else with being able to accomplish that.
Unfortunately, we're in an era where we have to do more with less, and we don't have we don't really have what I'd call a robust revenue stream. We're depending upon I guess we're sort of counting on some improvement as far as the registry of deed revenues, because that's the only place where you can expand your revenue source, immediately. But even if it improves, I don't think it's going to be enough to to have us look at new programs before we take a look at existing programs and get involved in what I call a zero-sum game that says
Zero-based budgeting.
So we'd basically have to take a look and say, if we continue with this program, what will we not be able to do? And if we want to add this program, what do we have to eliminate in order to do it? I get very concerned with what I'd call across-the-board cutting that doesn't take into account mission-sensitive, service issues. Yeah.
And I've never been in favor of across-the-board cutting. I think you always have to look at, sometimes you only have a department of 3 people and they're absolutely essential. You can't cut that department because the services they perform are so incredibly important. So you can't do it across the board. It doesn't make any sense.
And I don't think we've ever done that way here in all the
Not the time
boards that I've been here, exactly. Yeah, we've sort of been program specific.
And may it ever continue.
So,
I would suggest the other thing too, you mentioned sort of, before you can fund a new program, to figure out what you don't want to do or can't do or shouldn't do. The other thing is that I think we need to, as part of the policy, talk about beefing up our reserves a little bit.
yes, we mentioned that.
In pretty
We
good
spoke about
shape.
that right
Yeah,
now.
good, all right.
We mentioned
Glad
that in the
you're thinking
budget
that way.
policy, the different reserves, the capital reserve,
Yeah.
the reserve fund itself, how much we
Right.
need to keep in there and how much we want it to grow. What is the level that we want to achieve?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
in that fund, and if we needed to do, if we need to look at debt and whether or not debt makes any sense. Because when you have a fluctuating revenue source,
Right.
you can't be getting too much into debt because you don't know what you can't guarantee what your income might be for
Yeah,
next year.
well, you have to
And
pay
there's
the
no way
debt,
to
so that
raise
means
it.
everything else has got to be volatile, yeah.
Right, so it makes it very difficult to do that.
Yeah.
And
But
having
all the
that-
more reason why we should begin to really consider funding that reserve account.
So I saw you have the Falmouth one, which is very helpful. You
Yeah.
have the
And
Nantucket
then the
one.
Nantucket
Yeah, I
one.
found
There's
the
also a
Nantucket was on
GFOA, it's a little bit broader that I'll send to you
Oh, that's
as well.
good, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I had that one the other day. I didn't see one on the Maya. I didn't see one like with specificity in it on not Maya, on the MMA website.
Oh, the MMA website.
I didn't see anything on there.
Mhm.
I had asked you if we had a password, but.
But Bill said he could look at
I'll look at
the
NACO and
counties
see if
And
we
you look
can
at
get
NACO,
from
yeah,
NACO,
exactly.
and I'll dig
That
that
would be
out.
helpful.
And I don't think Maya has anything.
I didn't mean to say Maya, because they're the insurance one. I meant to say MMA. They probably do, but I couldn't find it. So I'll look again.
I'll send send a note to Jeff Beckworth to see if he can help.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
I think part of the problem of us not having a password is
Well,
we're
I have
not
a password.
technically full, you do, of
I have the
course.
password,
I
yeah.
think Barnstable County, we're not technically full members, we're like
I had to
associate
get a presidential
members.
appointment to get on my committee, so
Yeah.
maybe that's the reason why.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Because we're a county, we're not a municipality.
You know,
so
I
to
have
speak.
talked to him about including the county in MMA, and they're like,
Well, we
that's a
were at
whole
one
big
point, and then we
change
sort
to
of
the
got booted
bylaws.
out to like this associate status, and whatever.
But I know
Yeah.
that the participation in that committee that I'm on has been very helpful,
Yeah.
because they have looked at, significant regional issues.
when I get home, I can look on the MMA site.
Yeah, if
'cause
you
I
do
have the
that, just
password
let me
and see
know,
if I
yeah.
can find it,
Then you'll take care of that.
yeah. Yeah, I'll take care of
Yeah,
that.
and if you can find a PDF, just send it to me and I'll make copies or distribute
Okay.
it. That'd be fine.
Yeah, they probably do, because I used to, they have personnel, they have all kinds of different internal resources for things like that. Well, those were the major things that I thought we should.
Did George and Mark Foley show up?
Yes,
Oh, good.
Yeah,
they
they're
did a
wonderful.
great
All right,
job.
excellent.
And they have a PowerPoint they're gonna come
Yes.
back at a later time.
Oh, they didn't show it today?
No,
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
why, but the
They were
presenters.
supposed to
Mark
take
and
my
Sean.
computer and my projector, and then I just noticed in my office when I
Oh.
got back that it wasn't
No,
taken.
but
so I
they'll
said,
come back and
okay.
do that, and then we can have another discussion about
Yeah.
some of the implications for Cape Cod. By the way, I also found that, remember I was gonna show you that, I told you about that young woman who, when the town of Munson was hit by the tornado,
Mhm.
and the town hall was obliterated along with everything else and records, and people had nowhere to go. She created this organization called recovers.org, and she has a website, and it's a community-powered disaster recovery plan. And I only have,
I sent that to Sean.
oh, you did
I
send it to
did,
Sean?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you talked about that a while back.
I did, and I said I was gonna try and
Yeah, I thought he
find
might,
some more information on it.
I thought he might be able to incorporate it into the REPC piece somehow.
Yeah, actually, I should send him all the rest of this, how recovers.org helps communities bounce back
Yeah.
after disasters. You know what, I'll take all this out of here now while I have it.
And I'll make a copy, and then I'll PDF it, I'll send it to him.
Okay.
Thanks.
I think that.
Well, I also had mentioned that perhaps you could scan this and.
The Fallon thing?
So
Sure.
we could have it electronically.
Yeah, if you would scan it, I
Yep.
couldn't find a way to email it for some reason.
Then we start working on it.
Did you get a copy? You have a
Yes,
copy.
I have a copy of that, yep.
Okay, is there anything else we need to, we need to vote on our summary of actions here.
I had, while we're talking
Yeah, we
about
had some
that,
questions.
yeah, I had mentioned 6, and I guess my specific question on number 6 had more to do with
What
what
did-
kind of a product we're gonna get.
He's asking them to help with the redesign of the website. I mean, I don't know anything more specific than that.
I'm gonna say that it's very important to me, since that's the face that we're creating for us, that, the three of us have an opportunity to look at that to see if it reflects
Yes,
what we think.
I know that is on his list of to-dos, yeah. Because I spoke to John about the sort of consistency between, how we have the ideas for the sort of county homepage to be the portal. And then you would go to the health departments or the human services departments or whatever other department. Because there's a lot of information in those other pieces, so. So
Now-
that's what his goal is, to try to bring consistency.
Excuse me, is Penguin who the Human Service Department used and
Yes.
They're sort of, they have a
I think,
familiar name, so I believe so.
I
It
think the
could-
Cape Cod Commission might have employed them
I
to
think
assist
so.
with theirs.
Well, I know Human
that's what
Services
it-
use Penguin.
Okay, it was Penguin.
I have no idea, John.
Then there's
I
another
think
one
so.
called Virtual Town Hall.
Yeah,
They do a pretty decent job.
yeah. Do you use them in Falmouth?
No,
No.
unfortunately, they
No,
don't
I
have a
think
very good
Penguin is
website.
pretty good. I think Penguin also did the WIBs.
Yeah.
all-
Yeah,
They're,
that-
they're
that's
they're
where I
very
remember the name
familiar,
from,
I've
yeah.
seen their
It's owned by a
name
woman, I
somewhere.
think.
Yeah.
Right,
I've
it's
signed
called,
checks for
or
them
whatever,
before.
yeah.
The
so-
EDC used
Used
Penguin
Penguin.
way back when,
so-
a long time
So did
ago.
the Wib.
But they do a pretty decent job, I think.
And the I'm sorry.
But is there some way that will that be included in the, well, we're having some IT meetings, which we had to postpone, the one from 2 or 3
Yeah,
weeks.
We can talk about it, yeah, I think that one is
But we
mostly
should bring
the,
up because I think we should see
oh, you will?
what the plan is for the redesign of
Yes,
the website
yes.
before.
Yes, he will bring to you a draft, sort of, this is what the proposal is for it to look like. Yes, no question.
Do we not have to give a deposit sort of get that started? That's the purpose of this, right?
I think this is for the contract,
Yeah.
right?
It's, to upgrade the website.
Right, well, I think that we need to do it. I think that the firm that's been recommended based upon, based upon observation, has done good work before. But the only concern that I have is that it reflects what we think it should look like, since, over time, we've gotten a lot of criticism because of its appearance.
Right. So, I guess, and that should be part of the budget too, this redevelopment of the website.
I think he's got the money in this year's budget, that's why he's doing it now.
Oh, he's doing it
Yeah.
this year.
But he's definitely the plan has definitely come back to you before we launch the final product, so you get some input.
And then on the other question that I had, it was answered because they want to maintain their residency in there. And
Yeah, our
they
specific.
do have a legitimate license.
Yes,
right?
our personnel policies require a valid Massachusetts driver's license, and for most of our employees, that's not an issue, but for AmeriCorps, it becomes a particular issue because many of them are not from Massachusetts,
Well,
so they hold their,
As long as they have a valid license.
exactly.
Okay.
Well, my question was, what does the RMV require? Is there, after you've been here a certain time, do they require you get a Massachusetts
No, we have,
license?
I believe it's called reciprocity, so if you have a valid license in the state of your home state, and you're here, your license is valid, and similar if you're in Massachusetts and you're there.
Oh, I think I'm mixing that up
Florida.
with the registration.
Yeah,
Not the
and-
car
Places.
registration. I think there's
Yeah.
supposedly a limit.
It's
Right.
6
Yeah,
months.
6 months
Right.
that you have to register your car,
Right.
but the license
It's different.
is different.
Yeah.
Okay, so my problem with that is that it states that to waive,
Basically, she wants you to take out the word Massachusetts.
yeah, and this is, and it pertains to all county employees.
No, just to the ones that she specifies.
So we're making sort of an addendum, this is a specific waiver for
For the-
these
exactly.
individuals,
Just for
not
this?
for all
Not for
county
everybody,
employees. This
no.
does not wipe out that policy or rewrite it,
Yeah,
okay?
no, just for those.
And my other question is, and I know that it's come up before, but, and it's a very small amount, but it's the Stop and Shop debit. Is that just something we have, so if we need, who do those debit cards go to, the Stop and Shop debit?
Well, this particular one goes to Kara so she can
Just-
pay for the Christmas party.
Oh, okay.
Human Services
Just
gets
like-
them as well because Kathy goes and they buy food.
They buy
for
the, so it's just for them to get those meeting incidentals and,
When
yeah,
they-
coffee and donuts for meetings and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kathy, a lot of what the departments do, extensions, another one, they specify in their memos that you sign exactly what they're gonna use to
Right,
purchase.
right.
What we used to do, Kara would come begging to Maggie and I, and we'd have to give her like $100 in cash.
Right.
And she'd go to Stop and Shop, and so we sort of got smaller. Why, I don't know. Remember, we used to ask you guys.
Yeah, I remember
Where
that.
those go.
So what do they just, so then they
So we
just
just
give you
put
the
something in our
receipts
budget,
and
yeah.
you just have that as
But now
part
we
of
just do the card, it's just a
Right.
lot simpler and a lot cleaner and a lot easier. So we've smartened up over all these years.
That's it.
Okay. Do you have a report?
Well, wait,
What?
So we need a motion.
should we move this?
Yep.
Oh, yes, I'm
Yeah, I'll
sorry.
move that.
A motion to approve the summary of action.
I second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We have the NOAA telethon today.
I know you
Yes.
do, so no, I
Yeah, so-
don't have a report.
Okay,
I'm sorry, you didn't approve the minutes of November 28th. You only approved the summary of items.
that's right.
I'll move the minutes.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, you
No,
were,
that's-
I wasn't
Yes,
there.
you-
were
you're-
there.
you were
On the
there.
on the number,
Pat wasn't, Pat
on
needs
the
to abstain.
28th.
on the
I
28th,
wasn't
I'm
there.
sorry, okay, yes.
So there's a motion and a second. Those in
Okay.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and I'll abstain,
Okay.
not having been at the meeting.
Not been there.
Okay, yes, and is that it for that? Because the only other thing is the Noah Shelter telethon,
Right.
and it's our, you probably already said it earlier, but it's our perfect opportunity to let people know that tonight is their big fundraiser. It's going to be on public broadcasting on the Outer Cape Cod TV, and we're all gonna be there, I take it? We're all supposed to be there at 4:30, am I right?
7.
4:30, oh, you're going.
Yeah, I'm
he's
there
going
at
to-
4:30 as well.
I'm at 4:30
Right, they
too.
put me on 4:30, so.
I'll be there at 7.
Um,
I think you've come and gone by then.
Hopefully, yes, I will be. And hopefully everybody will call in and
They're looking
ask
for
specifically for
$100,000.
us, so that we get
Looking for
credit. No.
$100,000.
Right.
No, but whether you give it to us or not, I
Number to
think
call.
it's a very worthy
We have a number
cause
to
and
call.
unfortunately always
Well,
necessary.
there's, it was in the Cape Cod Times this morning,
Mhm.
and, but I'm sure if they tune into channel 90, is it 99? 99, they can get the phone
Okay.
number and then
Good.
participate in it.
Right.
And perhaps those who pay attention online, I hope that they exhibit a generosity of spirit
Yes.
and call in some money.
Yes, there are hard times, even though we may be on an upswing, people are still suffering, and unfortunately there's more. And then there's the hidden that will be coming forward, especially as the winter, we do get into a winter, right? It looks like it's going to get here, even if it's for several weeks. And people will be really in need. So, HAC does a great service with the Noah Shelter, and as I say, it's an unfortunate necessity, but there are those that we must help.
So is there any other business?
So just next week, start time 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
Good. And the budget policies, and then Beth at 11:30.
A budget policy and an outline of the dates for the strategic
Yeah,
plan.
but, okay, budget policy and strategic.
Yeah, that we never really did say which days were gonna work for us or what times
No.
might work for us. And that's gonna be,
I would suggest that any late afternoon would be fine with me.
That's fine with me as well.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it's
then I'd
probably
be
gonna
willing to
take-
work into the evening to do
right.
that.
It's gonna take us some, yeah, I mean, we're looking
Oh,
at
it's
for
more than
CVAC
one
right now.
meeting,
Yeah,
huh?
oh, definitely, it's maybe 3, 4, 5 we're looking at.
well, I'm thinking,
And it's a few hours, you sort of need
we
to,
probably need to meet, about, well, to get it done, I mean, I'm used to doing it on more like a half a day.
exactly. that's what I'm
Starting
thinking.
at 8 in the morning and maybe having lunch and finishing around 1:30.
Yeah,
Is
but
that-
if it works with Bill, I'd rather do that, I mean, I know it's still 4 hours, but if we could start at 3 or 4.
Whatever you guys
And work into
wanna
the
do.
evening,
And
that would work
work,
for me.
maybe have a little supper or something.
Yeah, we could
and
have
keep
something
going
to
till
do.
like 8 or 8:30.
Mhm.
We could do that.
That would be
So what day
helpful.
works best?
Any day for me.
Any late afternoon day with
Any
notice.
late afternoon?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I have a commission meeting.
Why don't
Yeah.
we,
On
all next
Thursday.
week, bring a
Tuesday?
calendar.
Yeah,
look-
bring our
Look for
calendars
some
and-
I would, Tuesday,
Not good?
January is okay with Tuesday, then February is not because of retirement, but.
Well, I can do Thursday when it's not the commission meeting. So we
Right.
could set
Right.
it up for as long as it wasn't on the same
Exactly.
day as the commission meeting.
Right.
Okay.
So why don't we try to do a Thursday, because
Okay.
that seems to be a good time when we don't usually have commitments on Thursday evenings.
And then typically, I would think that the facilitator, the conductor would want at least 2 and more likely 3 between meetings, but that's my guess.
Yeah, and where are we gonna meet?
Anywhere.
We should meet in a room that has a blackboard, or that has
A whiteboard.
a whiteboard. not
It's
a
usually
blackboard, a
helpful to sort
whiteboard.
of get out, but if we're here in the evening, then it's,
Lift up the curtain.
Hmm?
Yeah, we
It
could
can
go,
be-
we could go up to the, up on the hill.
we could go up on
We
the
could go
hill,
up
we
on the
could
hill.
go to the steamship authority, we could go.
Oh, yeah.
The hill is, that's actually not a bad room.
No,
And it's here, we don't have to go someplace else and get all involved with parking the car and.
Right,
And it's away from here,
right.
so it's a
yeah,
different
because
place.
this isn't really
Yeah.
set up
No,
for
I wouldn't
that.
do it. All right, well, we'll find
Well,
the
let's-
dates and then we'll try to book the
Book a room.
Harbor View or whatever else we can get.
Okay.
You can use the commission conference room, that's not
We
bad.
could use that. We could-
That's because they have a whiteboard.
They have a
or smart
whiteboard, it's a
board,
nice
actually.
space.
So you can even use overheads and all of that if
Yep.
that were necessary, so maybe we could do that. Except the EDC meets on Thursday, so it wouldn't be the first Thursday of the month.
Right, so we just have to sort of watch out
Yeah,
for
we
those
have
types
to
of things.
figure
And it
that
would
out.
be anyway, so,
All right,
Okay.
with that, a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
Other than to sign papers.
Yes,
Yes.
papers. All right,
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Great.